Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel for another deck tech from yours truly. I always like to start these off with just reminding everybody, if you're enjoying this content, you're enjoying these deck techs, just please remember to hit that like button, leave a comment on, maybe some synergies that I might have missed in this deck, or cool stuff you want to share with the community of Magic. And please remember, subscribe if you like me that much. But moving right into this, this is Ellivere of the Wild Court. Love this commander. Super, super fun. I always like to just, if I have the art card, just to do that. I don't know. I enjoy it. But either way, so getting right into Ellivere, what they do is they are a 2 mana and a green and a white for a 4/4. And then whenever Ellivere of the Wild Court enters the battlefield or attacks, you create a virtuous roll, which is what I have these proxies for, because the virtuous token is weirdly expensive, and you need a ton of them. But either way, you make a virtuous roll and you attach it to another target creature. So Ellivere cannot make virtuous rolls to attach to themselves, but you put them on another target. And what these do is they give +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. So really excellent. And honestly, if the card stopped there and this is all you had, still would be a very, very powerful commander. But it gets even better because there's just paragraphs and paragraphs of texts on cards nowadays. So they also added, whenever an enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Just insane. Just keeps your hand stocked with more enchantments. So what we're trying to do is Ellivere is going to give virtuous rolls to our creatures, and those will make them powerful because they give them +1/+1 per enchantment in play. So a lot of our focus is playing Stax and like beater creatures and having a lot of either our enchantments are either going to be evasive or they're going to amplify that +1/+1 by having its own +1/+1 effect, as you'll see later on. So let's just jump into this. So we're going to start off with our ramp plan, right? Having mana dorks not only helps accelerate Ellivere's game plan, I might even increase the amount of dorks that I have in here. I only have, I think, 3, but it's just excellent. Turn 1, you play one of these, and then you can just ramp into Ellivere earlier, and it has a body to put these virtuous rolls on. So, Avacyn's Pilgrim, it's a green dork that makes a white, and this art is super sick. So, throw it in there. Birds of Paradise, Birds of Paradise is just an excellent dork for any situation. It taps for mana, it's a blocker for flying, it's awesome. Fyndhorn Elves. You could put anything in this slot, really. I just did this one because I had an extra foil Fyndhorn Elves sitting around. And I just like the art style for this too, so that often influences some of my decisions. Wild Growth. We are sticking to, as most enchantment tribal decks do, we're sticking to an enchantment-based ramp plan for 2 major reasons. The one is the one I just spoke of, where we benefit for having more enchantments. So obviously, if we can get enchantment ramp, we would prefer that. But the second reason is we're running artifact hate. So a lot of artifact hate in terms of like Stax creatures. So the less artifacts we have to run, the better. And I think we're getting away with running no artifacts. So yep, no Soul Ring, none of that stuff. We don't need it. So Wild Growth, awesome stuff. Utopia Sprawl, same thing. The only restriction here is it's enchant forest, and then you choose white, and then boom, now it's a temple garden. Now it's anything you might need, so it's great. Fertile Ground, same exact thing. So we're running all 3 of those. Knick-Knack Oof, this is kind of starting the card advantage category for us. This card is excellent. It's super fun. I loved pulling it out of Eldraine, and it does so much for us. It's a 1 mana X, 1/1. So at worst, it's a 1 mana 1/1 that you can just throw out and enchant with virtuous rolls. But you're not going to do that. You're going to wait, and you're going to put whatever you want into X, and it gets +1/+1 counters, so it gets bigger based on however late in the game you want to play it. But this last giant block of text here is whenever it ETBs, you reveal the top X cards of your library, and you may put any number of auras with mana value X or less among them onto the battlefield, and then you put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, excellent card advantage. Just filters out. Hopefully you get some enchantments, but, we run a ton, so you'll see. Toski. Like I said, we're running beaters. Toski's a great, great beater to enchant. Love the art style on this border, this treatment of him. But either way, can't be countered, which he is a crazy threat to come into play and enchant with a virtuous roll. But either way, can't be countered, is indestructible himself, and attacks each turn if able, and then whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So it's another Ellivere-style trigger, except for they don't even have to be enchanted, you just have to beat people up. But this is what we're looking for in our beaters, is to, have these mass of keywords, because our enchantments are going to give them the evasion to get through. So we want them to have their own things that they're bringing to the party, and Toski does that in spades. He's great. Then we're getting to the stereotypical stuff. You know, SRAM. You know, he's great. We're going to cast auras. We don't care about equipment or vehicle. We're really not going to do that. But whenever you cast an aura spell, draw a card. Excellent. And he's a 2-mana 2/2 that you make him huge. Awesome. And just, oh, this border is so cool. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Citizen Champion. Excellent. It does everything we want to do, and instead of a cast trigger, it's an ETB trigger, which is just so much better for what we're trying to do, because Ellivere is making enchantment tokens, so it triggers Citizen Champion, makes them huge, and we draw cards for all of those coming into play. Crazy. Elvish Archivist, I mean, it's just another little beater for 2 that has the draw ability. This one can only trigger once a turn, but that's still really nice. You know, once is better than none, so we'll take it. We're playing Selesnya, we're playing enchantments, we're playing Sithis. Sithis is just so much value. You know, you cast an enchantment, you gain a life, you draw a card. Just, you can't get better. It does everything we need. Tanglespan Lookout. This is probably the most expensive option we're running for this, but we love it on a creature, right? That's what we like the most. So whenever another aura enters play, which is what we really like, draw a card. And this is not tied to once a turn. It's an ETB trigger. It's great. And it's a 3-mana 2/3, so that's good. Eidolon of Blossoms. 2 mana and 2 green for a 2/2, but it has Constellation. So anytime another enchantment enters play, you draw a card and it triggers itself. So it replaces itself and it provides card draw. Because we run so many of these effects, because as soon as you have one out, you just become a target. You know, you play Sithis gets removed. So you just have to have as many as you can. And you want to always have 1, maybe 2 out if you're getting greedy, and then just keep 1 in the back lane, because they are going to get removed. So just having that backup plan to continuously ensure that you have that card draw is excellent. So now we're moving into removal. We run enchantment-based removal, surprise, but we run Darksteel Mutation. Excellent. You know, commanders being really rude, make it a bug. And then that goes in hand with Kenrith's transformation. Same thing. You got a creature that's being annoying, just turn it into an elk. There you go. Pretty easy. These cards are so powerful in the way they can control someone's creature-based plan that you can often just use them as really good political tools. Be like, oh, well, you're thinking about swinging at me. It'd be a shame if your commander was a bug. And then people know what you mean. So, or you can even elk them. And either one you're referencing, people often understand what you're getting at. And it's deterred people in the early game for me. So, it's nice. Then we don't run a ton of removal because our creatures are just huge and they have like vigilance and or creature protection. So we don't really have a ton of creature removal. I haven't ended up really needing it. But Winds of Wrath and Farewell. You know, we're running these 2 as our board wipes because oftentimes we're committed to the board, so we don't need to wipe the board much. We're often the problem. So, but it's nice to have an exit button when you need it. And these are really good. I mean, I'm a huge fan of one-sided board wipes. You know, I'll pay a little extra so that way I'm not set back with the rest of the group. So, destroy all creatures that aren't enchanted. That's excellent. All of our creatures should be enchanted. Farewell, this helps just get rid of graveyards. That's really all we care about. And artifacts. You know, artifact hate is what we are good on. And we can cast that. We can always pick artifacts if we run none. There's nothing to worry about there. This is kind of the more utility slots that I've kind of set aside here. So Umbra Mystic is if you're running like a deck that's like this and you have white, which you should probably, but you know, Umbra Mystic is just incredible. Auras attached to permanents now just have totem armor. So now it's just protecting. Now just the tokens are totem armor. It's crazy. It's so good. We run Yenna, Red Tooth Regent. You know, it's 2 mana to tap and just double an enchantment. You know, it can't be the Virtuous rolls because it has to be target enchantment you control that doesn't have the same name as another permanent you control, and often you're going to have more than one of those Virtuous rolls. But either way, you create a token that's a copy of it, except it isn't legendary if the token is an aura. Untap Yenna. So it helps a lot just because it's going to be copying auras. So this is built for what this person wants to be doing. And then we got Calyx, baby. This is more of an expensive ad, but I bought it for another deck. Didn't really work out, and then I was building this deck, and it's just excellent here. It just does so much work for us. So he is a 1 mana and a green and a white for a 2/2. Constellation, whenever Calyx or another enchantment enters play under my control, get a +1/+1 on target creature, so you can buff whatever you need. Probably Ellivere, but either way. Or a bird, make a giant bird. Whenever he or enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, though, you may create a token that's a copy of a non-legendary enchantment you control. And you do this only once each turn. That's excellent. So good, because like I've been saying, a lot of our enchantments are going to make our creatures evasive, so you're going to be able to hit and deal that combat damage, and this just makes stuff crazy. Skybind. This one is an interesting one. So it's one of the only enchantments we run that's not an aura, and the reason we do so is because whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield, you can exile target non-enchantment permanent, and then you return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So what the game plan is with this is you do it with Ellivere, right? So say that your opponent has a board state where Ellivere just cannot get through, so you can't attack with Ellivere to start, populating these virtuous tokens to get them on everybody. With Skybind, you don't have to attack because it's an ETB trigger. So every turn, instead of attacking to get your virtuous roll, you're just blinking Ellivere to get it. So that's really why this is in here. But there's some other utility to it. Maybe, it's definitely a flex slot. So I have 2 protection creatures I run because we do commit pretty heavily to the board state. And when I'm looking at protection for wipes, I want it to be on a creature if I can, because then it can be a target for a virtuous roll. So I'm not really running any like heroic interventions. Maybe I might be in the future, but at this point, this is what we're sticking to. So Selfless Spirit, it's a flying, so that's excellent already. And then you can sack it to make your board indestructible. And then we run Boromir, Warden of the Tower. This guy comes with a billion benefits to running him outside of his sack ability. I mean, he's a 3/3 for 3 with Vigilance, which is great for us. And then whenever an opponent casts a spell, if they don't spend mana on it, counter that spell. That's just so cool. And then, you sack him, make your board indestructible, the ring tempts you. This is going to get into our Staxy creatures. So Dauntless Dismantler is such an excellent uncommon. It's so good. Artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped, and then you can pay 2x and a white, sack it to blow up all artifact with mana value X. So one really good thing to do against this is it's a counter to, you can blow up Soul Rings, blow up all mana rocks, because you don't run any, so there's no reason to not blow them all up. Or it's a counter to Treasure, because you can just pay 0 into X, just 1 white, sack it. It's not even a tap ability, so you can just pay 1 white, sack it, blow up all treasures. So maybe someone just hit with a gold span. They're all going to come in tapped. Boom, blow them all up. How do they like that, huh? And then you turn it into an elk and say, ha, and laugh at them. But either way, now Yasharn. This thing is awesome. So it's a 4-mana 4/4, which is great. And then when it ETBs, you get a forest card and a basic plains. So they have to be basics, but you get them both, put them in your hand, and then you shuffle. But the big thing here is it's just awesome Stax ability. Players can't pay life or sacrifice non-land permanents to cast spells or activate abilities. So this can shut down, some aristocrats. It just can shut down a lot of different strategies. There's a lot of people who are trying to pay life or sack things to get benefits, and Yasharn just says, nah, no you're not. Even Mind Sensor, just a flash, instant speed, anti-tutor. So it's like, oh, you want a demonic tutor? How about you find whatever you're looking for in the top 4 cards? That sounds good. How about you do that? It's just in here because it's excellent to stop tutoring. Love the art for it, and it's just a flying guy. And it's a Rebecca. Excellent art. This card is nuts. For an uncommon to have this much awesome utility is just so good. So either way, it's 1 and a green and a white for a 3/3, and your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, which is so good because you're, any deck that's really focused on buffing like this, it's awesome to have these Grand Abolisher effects. I'm really debating on putting a Grand Abolisher in here just because it is excellent. So that way there's no combat tricks your opponents are going to play. When you're swinging at them with like a 15-15, they're not going to path it. It's great. But either way, whenever 1 or more creatures you control with power greater than its base power deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. So essentially, any of your enchanted creatures hit somebody, there you go. Draw more cards. Shalai, Voice of Plenty. This thing is awesome. It's a flying evasive beater, which is great as a 3/4 for 4. But you, planeswalkers, and other creatures have hexproof. We don't care about the planeswalkers part, but we care about me and my other creatures having hexproof. And then as just a mana dump to put +1/+1s on everybody, that's also pretty nice. Here we talked about it. The man, the myth, the legend, the oof. You get this out on turn 2, people cry. It's so effective at slowing everyone else's game plan except you. It'll just draw removal if they have it, so it's great. Love Collector Oof. Soulless Jailer, yet another really awesome, just, anti-grave card. So permanents in graveyards cannot enter play, and players can't cast non-creature spells from graveyards or exile. There's so many exile effects, there's so many graveyard effects that, you just got to run some hate for it. So Soulless Jailer is a 2-mana 0/4, so it's just an awesome blocker that you enchant and just start hitting face while stopping someone's game plans. So Siona, Captain of Appeles. So this is a excellent little creature for 3. It's a 2/2, and then when it ETBs, you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal an aura, and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in any order, or in a random order. And then when an aura you control becomes attached to a creature, make a 1/1. You know who makes auras attached to creatures? Ellivere does. But that's not all. Siona will put them aside here. Combos with a tool that we will see in a minute. Gilwain, Casting Director. This guy is so fun. It was really between these two when I was looking to build this deck, but the fact that Ellivere makes virtuous rolls and there's no real other way to get virtuous rolls, so it's fun. But this could easily be another direction you take this deck. I was going to build this a lot more Staxy and put him in because he triggers when another non-token creature enters, so you'd definitely be more focused on having more creatures to enchantments, but either way, really fun. But he puts enchantments on creatures, so he can kind of be a backup while Ellivere might be removed a few times because they will get pretty expensive if they keep getting taken off the board. So it's good to have a backup plan, and this guy's a pretty good one. So Archon of Sun's Grace. Guy's crazy. He's 4 for a 3/4 flying lifelink, and then whenever an enchantment ETBs, just make a 2/2 Pegasus, and he gives Pegasus his lifelink. So, if you're having a problem with flyers, Ellivere is making enchantments ETB every turn, so then you're just getting more Pegasuses. It's great. Danitha Capuchin. She's great just because of these keywords, right? First Strike, Lifelink, Vigilance, excellent things to put on. You just give them a virtuous roll, and they're already ready to go. But in addition, they make your auras cost 1 less. You can't ask for better stuff. And Danitha is all over this place. We'll set her aside too, and we'll see her come back. Sarah Ascendant. You drop this turn, you get this out on turn 1, it just sets you so far ahead. There's a reason it's expensive. It's crazy for Commander. It's a 1-mana 1/1 lifelink, and then as long as you have 30 or more life, it gets +5/+5, has flying. Yeah, I'll play the 1-mana 6/6 lifelink with flying. That sounds good. Lightpaws, Emperor's Voice. You can build a whole deck around Lightpaws, but this one I just like Lightpaws as one of the beaters. So whenever an aura ETBs under your control, if you cast it, you search your library for an aura card with a mana value less than or equal to that aura with a different name, attach it to Lightpaws, and shuffle. So you can be enchanting something else, and then Lightpaws will be like, oh, well, I want some, and then they'll get their own enchantments. So super good. Wildwood Mentor. This guy, he was an experiment when I threw this deck together, but he has put in so much work, dude. He's a 3-mana 1/1, then whenever a token enters play, put a +1/+1 on him, which is just so strong for what we want to be doing. And then, because Ellivere is making tokens, right? And then whenever Wildwood Mentor attacks, another target attacking creature gets +X/+X, where X is his power. That's awesome. Because some of the issues you have is Ellivere is not able to get her own virtuous rolls. So this is a way to buff that lady with his strength, and then just swing in with the huge dudes. They work very well together. Core Spirit Dancer, classic enchantment beater, 2-mana 0/2. Whenever you cast an aura, draw a card, and then it gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it. Excellent. Danitha coming back. This is round 2 for Danitha, right? So Danitha is a 1-mana and a green and a white. Same Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink, which is excellent for us. But the cool thing here is it adds more to what she's doing in terms of once during each of your turns, you may cast that really crazy aura spell that everyone hated from your graveyard. You just get it back. It's excellent. Recursion. And then Danitha round 3. So Danitha, Benelia's Hope. This is the most expensive one we run, but it still has the First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink, which are excellent. Loses the Trample, but that's fine. First Strike is super good in this deck, so that's fine with us. But her thing is, when she ETBs, you may put an aura card from your hand or graveyard and just attach it to Danitha. Excellent stuff. Really have a good time there. And then we got Sun Titan. Love the treatment of this Sun Titan. He just, I don't even know what that he has in his other hand, like a super brass knuckle, but he's ready to throw down. And I get it. He's a 6-mana 6/6 Vigi, and whenever he ETBs, you just return target permanent card from your graveyard with mana 3 or less. That's a lot of our enchantments, as you'll see. Wilson, Refined Grizzly. This guy he's done so much work. I'm not sure, but I think my Wilson has some pretty dark inking done on him, because it's not the camera. He is impossible to see any details on. So that's kind of cool. He's just like a lit up little dark bear guy. But either way, he does so much work. He's a 2-mana 2/2 bear. Fits the whole bear idea. But he can't be countered. He's got Vigilance, Reach, Trample, Ward 2. The Ward 2 catches people off so much. It's like, okay, well, he's indestructible, but do you pay the Ward? It's like, love that man. All right, enchantments, baby. Here we go. This is the bread and butter of why we put this deck together, just giving these enchantments. So Songbird's Blessing. Really excellent enchantment here. Enchant creature. Doesn't do anything on its own, but it can really escalate and get things out of control. So whenever enchanted creature attacks, reveal cards from the top of your library until you get an aura. Just put that aura into play. And then if you don't want to, like maybe you get your bug or your elk, you put it in your hand. So you don't have to cast it, which is good. Excellent aura. Evasion, baby. It's a 2-mana. Give Ellivere flying. So now you don't have to worry, and they can hit, and they can keep getting through. But you also replace itself. So it's just such a good one. Shielded by Faith. This is the tool that we set aside for later. It's 1 and 2 white. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has indestructible. But see this line here? Whenever a creature ETBs, you may attach Shield of Faith to that creature. That goes really, really well with Siona, Captain of Peles. Whenever an aura becomes attached to a creature, make a 1/1. Oh, I made a 1/1? I'll attach Shielded by Faith. Oh, I attached an aura to a creature? I'll make a 1/1. And then you just loop that until you have infinite 1/1s. And then everyone's scared. And it's a 2-mana, it's a 2-card combo that you want both these cards. And it's so cool. Love that. And then the art on this one is so sick too. Just like that, those lines on the foil on the bottom. Like, let's see if we, oh yeah. That's great. Okay, all that glitters. This is one of those ones that, it's not evasion, but it's a better virtuous roll. So it gives you +1/+1 for each enchantment or artifact you control, but the art's super sick, so it's also just great for 2 mana. Angelic Destiny. It's so fun to just make an Avacyn's Pilgrim a 4/4 angel with flying and first strike. It's excellent. And then whenever enchanted creature dies, Angelic Destiny just goes to my hand. So it's not even a waste. I don't even have to worry about where this goes. Sometimes, though, you do have to worry about, people blowing up the target, so it fizzles. That'll happen more in like powerful enchantments that return themselves, because people don't want you to keep getting it back. Even though we run enough recursion to do that, but whatever. Alpha Authority. This gives evasion. So we put this on Ellivere or another one of our big beaters at the time, and it makes them have hexproof, and they can't be blocked by more than one creature. So ideally, you put this on somebody with trample, like Wilson or Danitha, and you just have them trample through. You can only block with one dude, and my dude is huge, so good luck. There you go. One with Kami. This one is super fun, right? Because your guys are going to be huge, and then they think they're blowing up your big guy, and instead of blowing up your big guy, they're just turning your one pillar into you're going tall instead of tall, now you're wide. So it's excellent. And it has flash speed, so if you have 4 mana, or if you're just worried, you have a giant beater out, and you're worried it's going to get blown up, there you go. One with the Kami. Whenever enchanted creature or another modified creature you control dies, create X 1/1 colorless spirit tokens, where X is that creature's power. Armadillo Cloak. Just awesome. It's just cool. +2/+2 gives them trample. Trample is really nice for us because a lot of our draw triggers are on combat damage dealt. So giving trample is great. And then also giving them a weird way to get lifelink is great. And then don't laugh. It works. It works. Snake Umbra. because we don't always have Umbra Mystic out. So having an Umbra is awesome. And this one, if you have a Trampler, just whenever it gets +1/+1, and then whenever they deal combat damage to an opponent, draw a card. More card draw. So cool. Love it. Hyena Umbra. This is just protection, but it's cool that it gives it +1/+1 in first strike. That's also just really nice. Sage's Reverie. Love this card. It's excellent for us. It's excellent card draw. When it ETBs, draw a card for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. It's often like a 4-mana draw 4. It's so nice. And this little puppy on the bottom here, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. It's another virtuous roll that draws you cards. Ancestral Mask. This is your definitely like big hitter card, right? Because it's a world count. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each other enchantment in play. So it's gathering from if there's another enchantment player, or even if each other person has one enchantment in play, that's +6/+6 for you. That's crazy. Just remember not to count itself, because it's +2/+2 for each other enchantment in play. Shield of the Oversoul, baby. You put this on a dual colored card, boom, it flies and is indestructible and +2/+2. That's awesome. But if you want, it will give a white creature evasion, and it will give a green creature protection. So it's a very flexible card and just gives you some really good strength. Rancor. Love it. It's 1 mana +2/+0 and gives them trample, and it's recursive. So if something gets blown up, Rancor, you don't have to worry about it. It'll come back. Not having to worry about stuff. Gift of Immortality. That's what we're about here. This is just protection. When enchanted creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. And then return Gift of Immortality to the battlefield attached to that creature at the beginning of the next end step. So if you want to remove my boy, you got to use 2 removal in the same turn, or good luck, man. It's awesome. Timely Ward. This one's really good. It's for mainly our commander, but it's enchant creature. They're indestructible. But it has flash speed if it targets your commander, so that's nice. And then we have Unquestioned Authority with the little bird wizard, the Owlman. Wah. It replaces itself, which is excellent. Even if it didn't replace itself, its ability to give protection from creatures, just super cool. This has no right being 1 mana. It's so strong. Ethereal Armor. Gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and first strike. I mean, that's nuts. That's crazy. Griff's Boon. This one is +1/+0 and flying, just giving that evasion so we can hit him. I never realized it was like a horse bird until now. I thought it was just, I only ever really saw this part where it's a bird, and I just was like, oh, that's the bird's legs. I never really looked past it, and I thought this was a tail. I never just saw those 2 little tiny legs. Either way, it's in here because it gives evasion. It's 1 mana, and you can cast it from your graveyard, which is super cool. Indomitable Might. Nothing feels better than when you have a commander who, you can commander damage people out pretty easy in this deck, but when you have your giant boy in play, and then they're like, well, I'll just block it with a 1/1. It's like, no, you won't. Flash speed. All right, here's our land plan. Path of Ancestry. We don't really cast a lot of human knights. It's not really what we're in here for, but it's a cheap dual land. Restless Prairie. Temple Garden. Command Tower, Razorverge Thicket, and Sun Petal Grove. We're in 2 colors, so we run a lot of basics. I don't really ever have an issue with the pip colors. A lot of ours are just, 2, and that's pretty much it. So, not really much of an issue here. But those are our dual lands that we're running. Maybe run an Exotic Orchard. I don't know. You're definitely going to run into green for sure, most likely white, so you're probably fine. But then we're running a lot of plains. And our only theme for our basics is they're foil regular bordered. I don't know why. I just like them. It's kind of an experiment for a deck, you just get to, you pull a cool foil of interesting art, just throw it in this deck. So we're running 4, 8, 12, 13 of our lands are going to be our basic plains. It's pretty even split. When I was looking at it on Moxfield, it's pretty simple split on our lands here. So then we're going to run all these little forests. And I just love the art. I like that one a lot, the little palm trees. It's super nice. And I have more than one of this one because I like the little gold trail that gets left behind. But we're running more forests because some of our cards are specific to forests that we need to enchant a forest, or we need to have green to ramp. So we're running 4, 8. We're supporting 16, 17, right? Yeah, 4, 8, 16, 17 forests. So definitely leaning more towards green, but that is because all of our ramp is green based. So we want to make sure we have forests in the early game to make sure we can ramp, and our ramp can turn that green into white anyway. So that is Ellivere of the Wild Court and her virtuous roles. So if you're enjoying this content, please remember hit that like button, comment about maybe some other things, some interesting beaters or interesting cards I should throw in here or try out, because I do love this deck. It's always fun to throw it down and just beat face. If you ever just want to combat and you don't want red, go hit them with Ellivere. But outside of that, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!